Welcome everyone. Welcome to Office Hours with Michael Kitces. So today we're talking a bit about psychology profiling tools and things that can let us communicate more effectively with our clients. So what can we do basically to improve the communication and interaction we have with our clients? So this comes to me from a question that Hans had emailed to me, and Hans said, so I'm reading the question here. I've been searching online trying to find some tools that help advisors profile their clients' behaviors, i.e. psychological profiling. I think it's important to understand psychology before people become clients, that you can talk about their future behaviors and what they might go through. I've seen a few tools out there, but none were really tailor-made for the finance industry or asset managers. Any suggestions? So this is an interesting area and one that's kind of close to my heart. So as a few of you may know, I was actually a psychology major originally. I was a psych major as an undergrad, and so I've always had kind of a closeness for all things psychology research, and including some of the really good research that's out there about just the fact that different people think through problems and issues differently and communicate differently, which is sort of this broad area that we now call psychological profiling. And to me, it fits as part of I think just the progression of how we develop as financial advisors. So you guys can tell me if this sounds familiar to you as well. But I think for most of us, the first few years when we're getting started, we're just trying to figure out basically the technical stuff. Like, I want to make sure I don't tell a client a recommendation that's just like factually wrong and incorrect. So we're getting our CFP marks. We're trying to learn the technical stuff. We're analyzing plans and just analyzing the heck out of them, just trying to make sure the information is accurate, is technically correct, and it's what I call the technical competency phase of being a financial advisor. Now, eventually you get through that, and you can tap your screen there on Periscope. This resonates with you, but after a while, the problems that clients come in with aren't entirely all that new anymore, right? You've kind of seen most of them. Every now and then there's an interesting question, and maybe there's something that you get to really look up or work on, but like the novelty of new problems that clients come in starts to wear off a little, which to me is the moment that you're starting to reach technical competency. You're approaching technical mastery. Like, I know my technical stuff now. What's next for me as an advisor, as a practitioner, which I suspect is the stage that Hans is at right now. And what I find where most of us go, what's the next stage, is, okay, I know this stuff. Now I want to figure out how to communicate it more effectively to my clients. How do I connect with them better? Almost all of us have a history of a couple clients where maybe they left and stopped being clients, or maybe you had trouble getting them on board, or just it's always tough with them because you feel like you're just not really connecting very well with them, right? Like the communication is just sort of moving at an impasse here, and you're not really gelling well. And that, frankly, that's not entirely surprising me, because we're not really trained that much on communication styles, communication techniques, how to communicate with people differently and better. Most of us simply have a natural communication style. That's what we do. People who like that respond to us and interact with us, but you have to get pretty far down your career path before you're at a point where you feel like you can adapt your communication style to someone else's needs, which is just a higher level of, I think, communication mastery, of professional mastery. Now, in terms of particular tools that are out there aren't a lot, but there are a few that I've seen that either advisors use or have adopted into the industry. So probably the one that I'm most broadly familiar with I'm familiar with that's used most broadly by actual financial advisors is a program called Financial DNA. So you can look it up online, Financial DNA, put together by a gentleman named Hugh Massey, that's built it into an entire kind of psychological profiling system for clients. He does training classes around it. I think he may even be working on a certification around it, how to be sort of fully competent and mastered of the tool. But the idea of it is that clients have a different focus in their priorities and how they communicate. Some are very driven by goal setting. So you have to talk about longer term aspirational goals if you really want to get them energized and connected in the conversation. Other clients are more focused on stability. You have to make them feel like the base is comfortable and safe, and only then are they willing to talk about other stuff. Now, for the goal setters, if you talk about the base, they get bored. For the stability folks, if you talk about the goals and they don't feel like the base is secure, you lose them. So just people come at financial issues and communication problems differently, and you can tailor your communication to fit their style. And that's essentially what Financial DNA is built to do, is help you figure out how would you adapt the way you communicate financial planning recommendations, ideas, things you're going to implement, changes that the client needs to make in a manner that's more likely to resonate with them, that's more likely to connect with them. Now, beyond Financial DNA, there are, I think, some general tools out there that are just effective for personality profiling and communication that have been adapted into the industry. One that I'm aware of is called the PDP test from ProScan. We'll make sure there's a link to it on the site when we post this on Thursday, which similarly scores clients come across, or really anyone you're communicating with, across different dimensions. So it notes some people are more of a dominance, take charge kind of personality. So, you have to give them information and then let them steer. Otherwise, you're going to be in like a power struggle for who makes decisions, and you're not actually getting anything communicated to them. Other people are more extroversion oriented. They have to feel comfortable socially. They want to engage with you socially and then get to the information. People at the other end of the extreme, you try to engage with them socially and do chit chat, they're going bonkers because they just want to get to the stuff, the facts, the details. And other people are really focused on details. Some just want high levels. So PDP is designed to help figure out what are the different ways that you need to communicate the information so that, again, you're going to be able to resonate with whatever those folks are struggling with or whatever they're interested in or however they want to take in information. And we're even seeing some of this become kind of a marketing angle, that this isn't just a tool you might use with a client in your office. This is even something that you might use with a prospect to encourage them down the road of becoming a client. So I think, frankly, some advisors have used risk tolerance tools in this manner, and Riskalyze has been particularly good at leveraging their software this way. So Riskalyze as a risk tolerance style questionnaire, not just that you give to existing clients or new clients per se, but that you can embed on your website and have people take that to learn about their own risk tolerance, see how it maps on their own portfolio, and if there's a gap, they're prompted to contact you as the solution. Bob Virus and Precise FP just launched a new tool called Financial Personalities that's meant to do the same thing. I actually haven't even had a chance to look at it yet, but as I understand it, a similar pre-engagement tool on your website so that clients can come in, answer some questions, learn a little bit more about their own financial personality, and of course that becomes not only a self-discovery tool for them, but a communication tool that you can use to understand how to communicate to that prospect to engage them more effectively. And really, I think at the base of this, it's just the recognition that people have different ways of learning. At a very high level, the research has found we learn in kind of three different ways. Some people are auditory learners. They learn primarily by hearing and listening. Some people are more visual learners. They've got to see it. The picture is worth 1,000 words, folks, or for them it's 10,000 words because it's that much more powerful. And then some people are what are called kinesthetic learners, which means that they need to do it. They need to be hands-on. They need to really build or construct something, put something together with their hands in order to really engage. And different people tend to align more on one of these dimensions or the other. So if you've got very auditory learners, they want to hear you talk about the plan recommendations. If you've got visual learners, they need to see charts, graphics, plan output to do it. If they're kinesthetic learners, you might have to put the planning software up on the screen, hand them the mouse, because they're kinesthetic, they're hands-on. Let them actually drag the sliders around, interact with the plan, see how it changes. That's how they cement the information in their mind. So I think the hardest part for a lot of us as advisors is just recognizing this dynamic that you got to sometimes get out of your own head, take a step back, and just try to recognize what does the client actually need? How do I need to communicate the information that's helpful for them? And I'll admit, I've struggled with this for a long time. I think I was terrible at it early on when I started as an advisor because I was just mired in that competency phase, make sure that I'm telling people stuff that's accurate. I hadn't even gotten to the point where I could think about how I was communicating it to them. Over time, I think, at least for me, that's kind of been a continuous journey of improvement. I think I've gotten a little better. I think I've still got a ways left to go. Now, this is still separate from other types of tools that are out there in the industry that are used for, like in our businesses. I'm also a huge advocate of using tools like Kolbe for assessing your work style, the work style of the people around you. That tells you how they tend to tackle problems. Very helpful for figuring out how to work with your team. For our recruiting business, we actually take all new candidates through Kolbe so that we can understand how do they tackle problems, and will that be a good match for the firm. And I actually do know a handful of advisors that use Kolbe with their clients as well. I do think it actually does give you some information, some guidance about how they're going to tackle decision making and problems that can then inform how you're going to present the information to them. But the point of this is, like, we're not talking about personality profiling and some, like, Facebook quiz about which Kardashian do you most represent or something like that. This isn't a personality quiz type of endeavor. This is really about the recognition that different people communicate in different ways. And as an advisor, if you want to connect with them well and you want to connect with a wider range of people, you have to be ready to understand that some people want to be communicated to differently and figure out how to adapt your communication style for that. And I know one of the areas where this hit for me most personally is just the recognition that couples often have very different communication styles. My communication style is very different from my wife's. For a lot of our clients, the communication style of the husband is different than the wife's. And what that ends up meaning for a lot of us advisors, we tend to connect with one versus the other, usually whoever is most like our communication style. And I think that's one of the reasons why we often unwittingly leave a spouse sort of behind or out of the conversation, because you have to adapt the communication to someone that may have a different communication style. And for a lot of us, that's not natural. That takes effort, that takes work. But the good news is, some of the tools out there like Financial DNA, like ProScan PDP, help to adapt that process or help provide you the information about how does this person think and communicate, and how would you adjust your communication style to match them better. But thanks for joining us here on Office Hours with Michael Kitces. We run this every Tuesday at 1 p.m. East Coast time, and hope to see you next week. Take care, everyone. Bye.